XOXO, got the girl. Pose. Good morrow and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, I'm not sure how you got here, but certainly I'm glad you came. And if you are new here, well, you're in for a treat. All right, if you enjoy chaotic, frenetic energy and controversy, then I suggest you go ahead and subscribe because this video is definitely for you. I also do some makeup content here and there and lots of media content, so it's a good time, I hope. We'll see if you're still here after I'm done talking. I thought I would go ahead and get unready because it's 1,000 degrees in Texas already. Bo is over there making all his noise, and I hate it. I don't really like for the temperature to be above 75. I am menopausal and sweaty and I hate it. So we're just gonna go ahead, we're gonna get started, and yeah, here we go. Because of the content of this video, I actually am refilming it because I got too impassioned, heated, and upset. So yeah, I'm gonna dive into it because I know y'all are like, what are you gonna say, Audra? Well, what I'm gonna say is, I don't trust woke white influencers. Unless I know somebody personally, like I spend time with them, I talk to them regularly, I don't trust them. And one of the main reasons I don't trust them is because they literally have nothing to lose. Like, they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. There is no harm for the most part that can come to them. They get seen and lauded as being woke and caring and awake and all of this. And so there's like nothing for them to lose. And as we have seen multiple times across all platforms, what continues to happen is people that we thought were like in our corner, we tend to find out that they're not at all. It's financial gain and they're using their wokeness and their whiteness to gain it. And so I feel like the big issue there is that POC creators can't talk about their experiences because we have a lot to lose. We have to worry about losing our platforms. We also have to worry about falling down in the algorithm. And even worse, we have to deal with a lot of slurs. It just puts us in a position to like deal with an enormous amount of people coming to our channels or our TikToks or our Twitch streams, whatever platform we're on, to call us whatever slur works best for whatever marginalized person or person of color that they can come up with. And it gets tiresome. Even if they don't bother you, it's very tiresome to deal with. And it's very upsetting when you know that you're saying some of the exact same things that a woke white influencer is saying, and yet the comments over there are very like, yes, get it, get it, get it, get it. And one of the reasons that WWIs, that's what I'm going to refer to them as from here on out, get to benefit from this and seem so woke and so great is because, yes, are they doing something good? Yes. We don't always know everybody's motives, and I'm not going to say that everybody's motives are nefarious because that's incorrect and unfair. But I am gonna say that because they have these platforms, people can flock over there and be like, oh yes,
yes queen, you are so woke, I love it.
And like, it's very frustrating because the people who the message should be coming from, it's not coming from. And another big issue is that WWI tend to lose focus of what the issue at hand is. If someone says something, a statement that is filled with ick or isms, for the sake of not getting demonetized, I'm not going to say the words, but you know what I'm talking about. But if someone says something, what actually ends up happening more often than not is the issue gets conflated between who is racist and whether or not the statement was racist. And I know people are gonna disagree with me, but semantics do matter, because if someone's platform has been one of tolerance and helping and kind, and they speak out of turn, they say something that could be considered an ick or an ism, what's annoying about that is what ends up happening is we end up trying to call that person that thing, which BT dubs is very difficult to disprove, especially online. If you call someone racist, it is very hard for them to prove that they aren't racist. Hence where we get all that I have black friends bullshit, or I have gay friends when it's coming to homophobia. When we do this, we place people in a position where they're more apt to be trying to defend whether or not they are this thing than they are defending the statement and talking about the statement itself. And then we remove their ability to look at how the words that they said hurt people, because it becomes more and more about people lobbing accusations of them being an ick or an ist, you know? And that is problematic, because now they're so much focused on themselves and that they aren't this thing and not on the thing that they said, which is why so many people can continue to make statements that don't make sense, because again, the statement was the issue that we were talking about. There's a difference between somebody actually being something based on their whole of their actions and somebody saying something that is incorrect and us being able to correct them. And if they're willing to receive that kind of correction, great. And if they're not, then we learn who they are as a person or who we think that they might be. But the issue at hand gets lost. Somebody makes a statement that could be considered ick or ist, and instead of us talking about this statement, we begin talking about the influencer themselves and saying like, oh, well, they're this, and then bringing up all of this stuff from whatever the fuck happened. Now, I'm not saying that people aren't responsible. What I am gonna say though is it's very frustrating, because those of us who were hurt or harmed by the statement that was made are still getting left in the dust, and it feels a lot more like WWI are using these issues to have beef, and maybe not them personally, but also their stands to have beef with whatever creator did whatever thing. And it gets exhausting. It gets exhausting and annoying to be in a marginalized group and have to hear people bickering and arguing over whether or not this creator is this or that, and we get lost. Our issue actually gets lost, and it really just becomes about everybody else except for the people who were harmed. And in the beauty community, which is largely, generally, I'm speaking generally, a liberal space, it is great to be a WWI, because you're definitely going to have a large amount of people who are willing to listen to you and agree with you. It's not really, like I said, you don't have a lot to lose when you do it. You have so much to gain. People come over, and the problem is your audience, the audience of the WWI, is placed into like a false sense of not having any issues with themselves with regards to race relations and sexuality and all of these kinds of things. These people can just sit there and feel comfortable because they're like, well, I follow WWIX and that means my work here is done. I am none of the things. I'm doing great. And that's not good, because the fact of the matter is, if you are a white person and you are far more comfortable receiving this information from another white person, you still have a lot to unpack there, sweet pea. In fact, a lot of times when something happens, WWI are some of the first people to like call out that something is ist or ick, and the problem with it is they don't even allow the people affected to speak out and say anything. There's not even like a consultation. There's like nothing. It's just like, oh my God, I can't believe you said this. This is da 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 da. And once again, more often than not, many people of color and marginalized people have been calling out X creator or Y creator for this behavior for many years. And it's not until a WWI says something that people are suddenly like, oh yeah, they're bad, they're bad. And everybody jumps on, and it's just very frustrating because, again, marginalized people are feeling like it doesn't matter if we talk about an issue because no one cares to hear it from us. They only want to hear it from, their WWI of choice. And when we talk, here's the other problem, we get accused of being too aggressive. Everything's about race. Why are you like this? Why are you so angry? Who hurt you? Not all white people. Not all men. It just becomes like this weird space where we're all just looking on like, I don't understand how people can think that they are actually unpacking their own biases, when realistically, if you can really only hear it from your own race of people, not the people it's affected by, there's a lot of things there that you don't realize that you need to unpack. You're gonna need to unpack why it makes you feel uncomfortable to hear it from someone who doesn't look like you, who actually experiences this problem. why does it make you uncomfortable to talk to them, to hear their experience and listen to it, and then not feel that you have to have a say in it? Like, you can't relate to it. And I understand the urge to want to relate, but you having somebody follow you in a store because you have a lot of piercings and tattoos is literally not the same. Those were choices. Those were choices. I made choices to have tattoos and piercings, but I'm not getting followed around for that. I'm getting followed around and have been for multiple years because I am brown, simply because I'm a brown person. So you can't even try to like compare these two experiences. And I feel like a lot of times conversations just get centered around WWI and their thoughts and their feelings on really terrible situations that don't affect them personally in any way, and they can't truly understand. Meanwhile, the creators on all of these varying platforms who have experienced this, who can tell you what it feels like, who can tell you, listen, if you want to tell somebody or compliment somebody, this is how you do it. No one wants to listen to them. And then when they do come, they want to center themselves in the conversation because they're used to it. And then that creates an even worse relationship between marginalized creators and their audience, because they're so used to, the audience is so used to hanging out in their WWI space where they're allowed to center themselves throughout all of their conversations, but don't come into our spaces and try to do that. We're tired. You'll do it all the time, and it's very, very frustrating. When someone is telling you their experience, it is not your job to put yourself into the middle of it. It's your job to listen. I had to learn that, and it's hard. I get it, but because you want to comment, you want to say something, you want to try to relate, but some things are just not relatable. Another reason that I don't trust WWI is because of the fact that they're often silently in marginalized people's spaces. They are often silently in people of color spaces, black spaces. They are in anybody, the LGBTQI plus spaces. They're often silently in these spaces, observing, seeing the conversations take place. And then they take these conversations to their platforms, and it's very like, we all see it. We all see you do it. And we're all just kind of like, I mean, it's good that somebody's talking about it, but damn. Like, it's good that they heard about it, but damn. Just like, stole the homework, word for word. And it's very frustrating because like I said, it's not just about like, I feel like people are gonna see this and think, oh, you're just jealous that you don't have a huge audience. That's not it. It's not about the audience numbers. It's not about the subscriber count. It's literally about the fact that the people who are affected by this aren't getting heard. We get spoken over all the time. And WWI are really bad about doing this, even though they're trying to call attention to an issue. The fact of the matter is, more often than not, they're calling out somebody for something, they're looking at something and saying, oh, this is this. And meanwhile, the people who it affects don't get to see it. We should be able to have like a determination on how we feel, right? Like if you think that something, if you're an Indigenous American and you look at something, you're like, yeah, I really don't appreciate their use of these symbols and like blah, 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 blah. That's who we should be listening to. It shouldn't be me. Like, I'm not Indigenous. It shouldn't be me that you're listening to. It shouldn't be any WWI. It should literally be someone who is Indigenous. You should be listening to them, hearing what they say, and letting them explain to you why this symbolism shouldn't be commercialized the way it's being commercialized. We should not be listening to anybody but them. They're the ones who know. They're the ones who know. And you can listen to a vast array of folks in that community. Some may disagree and be like, hey, I'm glad that they are paying attention to our culture. Other people may not agree strongly. And some may be like, in the middle. Because you know what's great about that? When you watch people of varying races and the people who are affected speak about their issue, guess what? You find out that we're all actually individual beings. We're not a collective. Each group of us, we're not collectives. We don't, as a black person, the diaspora, we are not all one thing. right? We're not all like, all black people do this. We don't have a caucus every month to determine what is and is not racist. Do you know what I mean? So it's just, I think it's important to actually get out there and look, because guess what? The rest of us have been doing this for a long time, watching white people, and we can see, oh, this person agrees, this person doesn't agree, this person's in the middle. We can watch all of that and not feel like every white person believes this same thing. Whereas we often feel like we're just told to continuously just be one thing, we're one group, and all of us feel the same, which isn't true. Like, and when I was talking earlier about like the conversations kind of getting derailed, another part of that conversation that consistently gets derailed is that it becomes about how good the WWI is for talking about this issue. And I said previously that that's not the reception that a lot of persons of color, black people, indigenous people, LGBTQI+, like that's not the reception we get when we talk about it. The reception we get more often than not is quite negative, and it's quite nasty. Sorry, I started thinking about it and I just had like a moment. Our reception when we talk about our experience is harsh often, and it would be nice sometimes, no matter your channel size, whether you have 5 subscribers or 2 million, to have people receive what you are saying the same way they do a WWI. To be able to be like, yeah, received it. Well, thank you for speaking about this, instead of the constant, well, I don't know, I don't know. And believe me, some of y'all be in people's comments and we'll see you in somebody else's comments. So we know. We're not making this up. We can definitely see you in someone else's comments being like, I'm so glad you said this. And I bring this up because recently on TikTok, there was a creator who said, you know, I don't like white people, which of course brought every white racist over to say just hateful, nasty things to her, really proving her point as to why she felt that way, or they felt that way, I'm not sure. So one person in particular, a white woman, was very nasty about it, and then when called out, comes in and says this in their apology. Well, if they had just come to me and said, and I'm like, baby, first of all, you don't get to tell people how to come to you. But second, this person doesn't even know you. Why are you so important that they need to take time out of their day to explain to you their feelings about something? Like, they don't. And the thing about that interaction is that that person was in comments previously just hyping up other black people and so happy for black people and this and I'm learning and blah, blah, blah. But the very moment that they felt like they weren't being received well, and we're seeing this constantly, the very moment that a white person who has been following predominantly WWIs, it has an interaction with a black person that isn't, or, you know, black, indigenous, all of us, that isn't perfect, that isn't stellar, where we're not like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, I appreciate everything that you do here. It becomes this like nightmare interaction. And I'm not saying that WWIs need to like just stop talking about issues, but I am gonna say, maybe do a little bit better job of directing people towards other people who can help them, other creators who can talk about their experiences, who can really let people know what it's like and get people comfortable with hearing how other people talk. We're not all going to, you know, invite you to the goddamn cookout, okay? That's not how it works. Like, doing the bare minimum doesn't get you an invite. So like, it's very frustrating to watch the conversation go from so-and-so said this harmful thing to how good this creator is, and then to watch beefs start happening between creators, and meanwhile, the actual people affected still receive no apology for the actual thing that happened. The creator who said the thing doesn't actually get to learn from what they've done because they're so busy defending themselves against whether or not they are or are not an ick or an ist. And it's just fruitless. Have we not figured out by watching this cycle repeatedly that more often than not what happens is a lot of creators just bow out. They're like, yeah, I'm not gonna talk about this anymore. I'm not. And another big reason that I don't trust WWI is because of the fact that they are more than happy to gloat and be proud that they lost followers for standing up for their beliefs, which great, you know, good for you. But that's like the worst thing that happens. Like, you do not have people lobbing hard R at you and telling you that they, you know, hope that you unalive yourself. You don't have people threatening assaults. Like, it is pretty intense. And I don't know what to say about it anymore. I feel like there's this weird alternate universe where when we're talking about people who are experiencing, you know, racism and homophobia and T-phobia, because we know, but it's like everything is done to censor the people who it actually affects. Meanwhile, WWI continue to grow, they continue to get bigger, they can say the words and not get demonetized and not have their videos pushed further down into the algorithm. And it's a very frustrating thing to just watch like your own movement pretty much get overwhelmed by whiteness. That's all I've got for today. I'm done. My face is clean. I'm having a nicest day. I'm gonna go sit and put my head in the freezer because it's really, really hot. If you like this video, please do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. So at least that way I know that you somewhat enjoy when I get a little too serious. I'm sorry, but also, no, I am not. As usual, huge shout out to my patrons and spooky bays, yeah. Seriously, if it were for the patrons and the spooky bays, I'd be like, all y'all really help to keep the bats in the belfry and the spiders in their webs. Until next time, it costs $0 to be kind. It's so good for your soul. And if you don't take care of it, I guess I am gonna come for it. XOXO. Got the girl. Oh.